Namaste, auspicious day today. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share mindfulness with friends of AFSM. In the conference agenda sent to me by Professor Chin Kin Fah, I learned that Dr. Yan of UTAR had already talked about the topic of the science of mindfulness in his speech. Through Dr. Yan's introduction, I believe the audience will have a certain understanding on the relationship between mindfulness and the medicine science, as well as neuroscience, which were developed and popular in modern Western society, including MBSR Mindfulness-based Stress Reduction, MBCT Mindfulness-based Cognitive Therapy, DBT Dialectical Behavior Therapy, and so on. These scientific knowledges will help us understand how the science of mindfulness brings benefits to human physical and mental health. And these benefits of mindfulness included reducing stress, pain control, avoiding ruminating thinking, improving concentration, and even losing weight. I personally benefit a lot from these benefits, especially the last one. I used to lose 12 kilograms in 3 months through mindful diet training. However, these benefits have different levels, and they are often mentioned in Buddhist literature. For example, helping people lose weight through mindful eating. It was first seen in Buddha's teaching to Kin personality. The Kin personality was the earliest example, as well as the most successful example of the Buddha's teaching for mindful eating. He used to be overweight caused by overeating, and his health condition frequently getting worse. He is out of breath while walking. His breath smelled also stinking, and he was rejected by his wife and ministers. Obviously, his interpersonal relationship and heterosexual relationship are not so good. That's sad for him. To this end, he asked the Buddha how to lose weight and keep a good shape for a healthy life. The method of the Buddha taught is mindfulness. The specific content is to be aware of yourself anytime, anywhere, to be aware of the causal relationship between food and your body, to be aware of the amount of food you eat, to adjust your habit, and so on. Finally, the Kin personality succeeds in losing weight soon. The Buddha gave the Kin this point: when a man is always mindful, knowing moderation in eating, his discomfort diminished, and he ages slowly, taking care of his life. From this point, the method taught by the Buddha, we know that to maintain mindful awareness toward our body, that is the point. Maintaining mindful awareness of food and eating is also the key point. In terms of specific practice, 1 or 2 meals a day are sufficient. The time distance between the 2 meals can be shorter. it can avoid obesity, which is caused by continuous eating. While eating, be aware that every meal is 70 to 80% full. Once aware of it, stop eating. The food ratio can adapt the 2-1-1 principle. Divide the pan into 4 portions. 2 portions of leafy vegetables, 1 portion of protein, and 1 portion of starch staple food. When the keen personality made a weight loss and regained a healthy, happy life, he praised the mindfulness taught by the Buddha in poems and mentioned the 2 benefits of mindfulness. He said, "The Buddha truly have compassion for me in both the good of the present life and the good of next life. Know well, the benefits of this life naturally refer to success of losing weight and achieving good health and interpersonal relationships. As for the benefit of afterlife, it is related to the purpose of the Buddha's teaching of mindfulness. For this reason, in this video, I want to go to an older age. That is the time the Buddha in human history, and talk about the benefits of the afterlife. I tell a story, a famous layman in the time of the Buddha. He is the elder Mr. Anathapindika. He was the richest man in the time of the Buddha in ancient India, as well as a very important supporter of the Buddha. At the time, the elder Mr. Anathapindika was seriously ill, and he was close to death. The body pain was unbearable, and the head, abdomen, and the body seems to be burned by fire. When the blessed one heard that the elder was critically ill, he went to the elder's home to visit the sick man in the next morning. At the time, the Buddha once again reminded the elder Mr. Anathapindika, who was sick and laid in bed. The Buddha asked him to keep mindfulness anytime, anywhere, and teach him various mindfulness exercises. When the elder Mr. Anathapindika heard the Buddha's teaching, he began to pay his attention, focusing on the correct and appropriate object. In the focus and sincere breathing awareness, he ended his period of life and reincarnated into the heaven, becoming heavenly being with radiate auspicious light. The reborn heavenly being returned to the world again, visiting the Buddha briefly. In the 2 stories, the Buddha told the elder Mr. Anathapindika and the keen personality the same way of mindfulness. Mindfulness does have many useful ways. So what is the core purpose of the mindfulness? To put it simply, the purpose of the Buddha's teaching of mindfulness is to liberate himself from the suffering of samsara. I quote a scripture. It can more clearly see the purpose of the mindfulness taught by the Buddha. There are 5 purposes here. This is a verse derived from the 10th Sutra, or the Middle Length Discourse, embody Buddhist canon, named Mahasatipatthana Sutta. It means the great establishing of mindfulness discourse. I have heard that on one occasion, the blessed one was staying among the crews. Now, there is a town of the crews called Kamasadama. There, the blessed one addressed the monks, and the monk responded to him. The blessed one said, "This is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and distress, for the attainment of the right method, and for the realization of unbinding." Later, the Buddha mentioned about the 4 observation objects of mindfulness, namely body, feeling, mind, and Dhamma. He mentioned, in other words, the 4 establishings of mindfulness, which 4? There is the case where a monk remains focused on the body in and of itself, ardent, alert, and mindful, subduing grief and distress with reference to the world. He remains focused on feeling, mind, and mental qualities, and so on. Mindfulness can indeed bring many benefits to people. On the surface, mindfulness can help people lose weight and make their body thin, just like a story of the king personality. But from the bottom up, mindfulness can also help people reducing their psychological pressure and avoiding ruminating negative thinking, just like a science of mindfulness. But at a deeper level, mindfulness can also help people who are suffer from disease and dying prepare well for the rebirth of the next life, just like a story for the elder Mr. Anathapindika. Ultimately, mindfulness can help people achieve nirvana and lead people a worry-free life, just like a Buddha. It's true that mindfulness originated from Buddhism, but there are differences in its application. It's like an adjustable telescope. As long as you can flexibly adjust the lens, you can see the object at a different distance clearly. So is mindfulness. It can be said that the benefits of mindfulness, which discussed in contemporary Western science, belong to the application of physical and mental health, but the application of mindfulness based on Buddhist culture often goes deeper into the realm of the spirituality, liberation, and automated care. It depends on the user. The purpose will determine the object, as well as the depth and the perspective. We should often be happy and always be mindful. I am Professor Liu Kai-wen.